For those of us in the room who are entrepreneurs, have been on the entrepreneurial journey, we know it's generally a difficult journey, right? I mean, it's not all about the great success and the momentum. While you've had that and it's phenomenal, but maybe you can talk to us a little bit about the journey of, if you like, zero to where you are now. You know, what are you proud of? What worked? What didn't work? And what advice would you give to the next founder of the Stripe equivalent or otherwise?
Well, I guess it's a truism and a cliche and all the rest that, for any company that achieves any level of traction, it all looks inevitable in hindsight, but it seems so implausible up front. And Stripe was certainly no exception to that. People talk now about the fintech sector. The term fintech didn't really exist when we were starting. And so we just had this idea for making it easier for developers to accept online payments. That was kind of the first thing that we did, but we were 19 and 21 at the time, myself and John, my brother, and I don't know how many people have had the experience of pitching incumbent banks and financial institutions on starting a new kind of financial institution as a teenager or recent teenager, and it doesn't go very well. Didn't go very well in our experience. Like, I think they were often hunting for the security button, beneath their desk to eject the interlopers. And we certainly felt like three squirrels in a trench coat trying to masquerade as something vaguely plausible. And it took about from when we sort of first had the idea, we first started to write some code to work on it. It took about 2 years before we could actually launch it, because it took that long to convince partners and the various counterparts in the ecosystem that we needed to support it to do so and to work with us and to show that this idea at least potentially had some merit. We tried to raise money in the early days, and that was challenging again for legitimate, valid, understandable reasons. It all seemed very implausible, and we were fortunate that we actually had a meeting with one of the founders of PayPal, and we weren't very politic or I suppose strategically wise, and so we spent most of our lunch with him, telling him how terrible PayPal was in our estimation. And I remember sort of ruining it afterwards. We thought, well, we should probably been a bit more diplomatic and so on. But this gentleman is a very contrarian guy, and so he decided to invest, in fact, and he told us that he disagreed with all of our analysis and logic, but he thought, well, I'm probably just emotionally biased, and so the fact that I disagree means I should invest. Anyway, so he had some torturous logic that ended up working out for us. And then look, it's been so someone actually congratulated me this morning on my 16th anniversary at Stripe, which I hadn't really thought about, but I guess we started writing the first lines of code, in fact, 16 years ago, and there's in certain domains of software and technology and entrepreneurship and so on, you can really achieve amazing traction, what feels like overnight. Like if you build TikTok or something, it can go parabolic and the whole world can start to use it. Or ChatGPT, goes from nothing to hundreds of millions of people in the blink of an eye. We're operating at the infrastructure level, and nothing in infrastructure happens that fast, no matter how compelling the thing is. And so I think there's in fact, it was Edge who mentioned to me once the Nietzsche line that so much of success is a long obedience in the same direction. And Stripe has to date far less endurance than U2 has demonstrated, but there is something where for the first even 10 years of Stripe, we're pretty small. Nothing felt foreordained and certain and so forth. And it's really only in the second decade that we think, well, maybe this might amount to something.